The midterms are just a little more than 2 months away, and Democrats and President Biden are feeling the pressure for sure, as a new ABC News Washington Post poll is showing that just 35% of Democrats would vote to keep President Biden on the ballot. ABC News political reporter Brittany Shepherd joining us live now to break this all down for us. So, Brittany, let's start with Cecilia Vega, our chief White House correspondent. She really tried to press the White House press secretary today on that poll during today's briefing. Let's take a listen.
The poll actually shows that the president is deeply underwater when it comes to the economy. Is there anything the White House plans to do differently? Do you need to do the midterms are in 44 days?
I understand what you're saying about the president's numbers, but what we are going to focus on is how we are going to continue to deliver for the American people, especially at the most important things that matter to them: lowering costs, making inflation a priority when it comes to his economic agenda, making sure we don't leave anybody behind, build an economy from the bottom up, middle out, and that's going to be the president's focus.
In other words, Cecilia, I'm not going to answer your questions. So, Brittany, why don't you go ahead and give us a reality check here, since Jean-Pierre didn't?
Well, President Biden is underwater across several critical sectors, and inflation and the economy chief among them. I was just in Pittsburgh on Friday talking to voters and at a Republican event, and folks there are incised. There isn't that much that Biden can do to reach those folks on the right. But with, I think it's 44 days left of the midterms, voters are eager to hear from Biden on what they're going to do to make sure that their paycheck goes a little bit longer come November, especially in the critical holiday months with Thanksgiving and Christmas just around the bend. The White House is telling us that they are going to be wrapping around the last 19th month of his presidency, sending Biden out to the rope line to remind voters of all the frankly, large legislative wins that they've notched in the last, I would say, 8 weeks. Inflation Reduction Act, chief among them, to try to convince the American people that they've done enough and they're willing to go the extra mile. But let me tell you, Terry Kier, I think it'll be a very, very, very difficult job for them.
It sounds like in strategy and tactics and the horse race, the side post is supposed to tell us about us, right, about the country, substantively. And there was a sense that Democrats had that that voters were coming to them on issues like abortion and the danger to democracy. This poll and others suggest that either that's stalled out or that people have other concerns that are more important. What do you think?
Well, what I'm hearing from voters is they're trying to juggle lots of different priorities. One maybe large priority being what to do with democracy, but that's spongier. It's harder to put your fingers around. When they're seeing crunches to their paycheck, then that is something that's hitting them immediately from dinner table to dinner table. And they're stressed. They're worried. And Democrats are hoping that fears around the repeal of Roe versus Wade will help independents and Democrats line behind them. But frankly, I think it's going to be a pretty difficult run for Democrats. Something really interesting from that poll, too, shows that a majority of Democrats, I think it was 56%, want somebody else who isn't Joe Biden. I've heard that. I'm sure you both have heard that. You're at happy hours, even walking up and down Starbucks here in D.C. People want something else. And if you look at voters under 40, that number is around 75%. Three-quarters Democrat looking around their shoulder, around the bend for anyone. But we both know how difficult it is to primary a sitting president, especially when you have the DNC and all their funds and surrogates against you. When I talk to Democrats who say, well, if you don't want Biden, who do you want? They're hard-pressed to come up for solutions. And the name I hear occasionally is Vice President Kamala Harris, but there are questions with Democratic brass here about her electability, with her likability, with her ability to be able to go toe-to-toe to someone like Donald Trump or maybe Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Remember, she was a pretty junior member of the Senate and an effective politician, and when it came to hearings. But as vice president, she's not very liked as well as Joe Biden. And I think that Democrats are feeling like devil they know and devil they don't know aren't good enough.
So, Brittany, you said that the folks have been saying to you, other than Joe Biden, who else is out there other than Joe Biden? I mean, what are you hearing, I guess?
Well, Kira, hearing a little bit about Harris, I think I hear a little bit rumblings about Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, you know, folks who maybe ran last cycle. But folks, Democrats, especially young Democrats, are really pissed off, and frankly, they feel like they don't have a lot of options. They feel like they tried for Bernie twice, that didn't work, and they're looking for perhaps a bolt out of the blue, someone like Obama who kind of came in late term, post midterms to come shake things up. But when I talk to Democrats, they say if it's Joe Biden and not anybody else, they might not just vote. And I feel like that's the real swing voter here, not somebody who goes from party to party, but somebody who's incised to vote to somebody who doesn't vote. And I asked folks around the DNC, folks who used to work at the White House and are now in private business, who are other Democrats who you think could make it? Some say Illinois Governor J.D. Pritzker. He's very rich. He's very in the know. I think governor's very hot right now. Gavin Newsom has been in the mix a little bit, but no one with enough authority for Democrats to say, okay, Joe Biden, it's time to retire, go back to Wilmington. We have someone else up next.
Well, it's still a couple of years away, so there's plenty of time for that story to develop. But I do want to ask about enthusiasm, right? Midterms generally don't get anywhere near the turnout that you see in general elections, but in these special elections, for Congress and in that Kansas referendum, you did see striking levels of turnout. How does the enthusiasm meter run right now for Democrats and Republicans, do you think?
Well, Terry, clearly abortion is an animating issue for Democrats. I believe in that same ABC News Washington Post poll. Democrats are trusted in an outsized number to Republicans on handling abortion. And we talk to voters. Democrats are worried about their rights being taken away. And that enthusiasm gap, Democrats believe will shut, or at least get super, super close come November, especially, and you might be surprised, in ruby red states like Arizona, there was a new abortion law that was just passed yesterday with language from the late 1800s, early 1900s, criminalizing essentially all abortion and throwing folks in jail who are going to be offering those abortions. The Democrats are saying that they're going to be able to get enough people who are scared and angry, who want to fight for their rights post-Dobbs, to really close that gap. In that same poll, we're seeing that women voters under 40 are a lot more likely to vote in this midterms in a way they weren't right after that Dobbs decision came down. That's not nothing. These are women who live in suburbs that were able to take the election away from Donald Trump the second time around. It's a critical voting bloc. I think people think of the red wave. I think maybe posit that this is a bit of a pink wave that women might be pushing against any kind of gains that Republicans hope to get in just 44 days, Terry.
All right, Brittany Shepherd. As you point out, we've got some time.
We do.
We've got the midterms.
2024, but
right.
the midterms,
we have 44 days,
yep,
and then the next 2 years. So a lot to come. All right, Brittany, thanks so much.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.